All right, so uh, looks like someone's been doing their homework.
Yeah.
You've given us a ton of articles and videos to dig through all about um, the economic landscape
Yeah.
during Trump's second term.
Hmm.
So basically, you want to figure out where the money's going to flow.
Of course, who doesn't?
Right,
It's
exactly.
always about the money.
It is.
Yeah. And it's really fascinating to see how everything's intertwined.
Uh-huh.
You've got policy, you've got public sentiment,
Right.
and then the market on top of it all.
Yeah.
There are going to be some clear winners and losers.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We've got two YouTube sources in particular that I think are really, really interesting.
Okay.
Minority Mindset, which really dives into, investment strategies,
Hmm.
and then Noel Randall,
Okay.
who is coming at it from more of an entrepreneurial angle.
Interesting.
And get this,
What?
it seems like everyone's got a plan,
Okay.
from private prisons to space exploration.
Wow.
Yep.
So I think what's really key here is understanding how government spending kind of creates these opportunities in the market.
Yeah.
And actually, minority mindset.
Oh,
They have a
yeah.
really powerful quote. They say, the largest spender in our economy is not you and me. It's not corporations. It's the government.
That's huge.
Right. And
Yeah.
I mean, that has huge implications for anyone who's thinking about, investing right now.
For sure.
Yeah.
So let's break that down a little bit because Minority Mindset actually dives into some really specific examples of where the government is putting its money and where you might want to be looking.
Got it.
One of the first things they bring up is mass deportations
Mm-hmm.
and the potential impact on private prisons.
Yeah. I mean, we're already seeing that play out. Like NBC News reported this huge surge in private prison stocks right after Trump was reelected.
Wow.
And Investors Business Daily, they even highlighted, how there's going to be this increased demand for ICC detention beds.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you're looking at this purely from an investment perspective,
Right.
it's definitely something to consider.
Yeah, that's a little,
Yeah.
I don't know, a little dark, but
Yeah.
definitely something to think about.
For sure.
Um, Another area they highlight is military investment,
Oh, yeah.
which of course, benefits defense contractors.
Exactly. I mean, think of companies like Lockheed Martin.
Right.
They're the world's largest defense contractor.
Huge.
Right. And, when the government spends more on military equipment, companies like that stand to benefit
For sure.
big time.
Okay, and then there's space exploration.
Oh, yeah.
Trump has obviously been, a big advocate for this.
He has.
And a lot of people are betting that he'll just continue pushing for, investments in this area.
It's a sector to watch for sure.
Yeah.
CNBC actually reported this pretty significant rally in space-related stocks right after the election.
Interesting.
We're talking companies like Rocket Lab, Intuitive Machines, Spire, Global,
Wow.
Planet Labs, Redwire,
They're all
AST Space Mobile.
just going up.
They're all seeing some pretty impressive gains.
Wow. It's like Space Race 2.0.
Yeah,
But it's not just about, where the government spends its money.
right.
Right. Minority Mindset also talks about the impact of deregulation
Mm-hmm.
on different industries.
Oh, and that's interesting because, deregulation can be kind of a double-edged sword.
Oh, really?
Yeah, on the one hand, it can really stimulate the economy,
Okay.
by reducing barriers and costs for businesses.
Right.
But on the other hand, it can create risks for consumers
Okay.
and, potentially destabilize certain sectors.
So more freedom for businesses
Right.
could actually mean more risk overall.
Potentially.
Okay, interesting.
It's all about finding that balance.
Right.
Let's look at financial services, for example.
Okay.
S&P Global Investors is anticipating that less regulation is going to lead to like a surge in mergers and acquisitions,
Mhm.
which could be a big win for, financial institutions.
Interesting. What about the oil and gas sector? We know Trump's been very vocal about wanting to deregulate that industry.
Oh, absolutely. And that's likely to be a boon for traditional energy companies,
Okay.
potentially at the expense of, renewable energy sources.
Right.
CNBC actually did a whole report on the oil and gas industry's kind of wish list
Uh-huh.
for Trump's second term.
Yeah.
And it included a lot of deregulation, especially around drilling on federal lands.
Mhm.
The Wall Street Journal also highlighted the pro-fracking stance of Trump's pick for energy secretary.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, there are definitely some strong signals there.
Yeah, so we've got, government spending driving profits in areas like private prisons, defense space exploration.
Right.
We've got deregulation potentially boosting financial services and traditional energy.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's add another layer to this.
Okay.
Tax cuts.
Yeah.
Minority Mindset really dives into how potential tax cuts could lead to this surge in corporate stock buybacks.
Yeah. And this is where things get really interesting for you as an investor.
Okay.
Because tax cuts might sound great. Yeah, on the surface.
Right. But it's important to understand where those benefits are actually going.
Yeah, where are they going?
Are they primarily benefiting, large corporations?
Right.
Or are they actually trickling down to the average worker?
Right.
And how does that impact, your own investment strategy?
Okay, so break it down for me.
Yeah.
How do these buybacks work?
So essentially, a company uses its cash to buy back its own shares from the market.
Mm-hmm.
And this reduces the number of shares that are available.
Yeah.
Which can then drive up the price of the remaining shares.
So it's basically a way for companies to boost their stock prices.
Right.
But doesn't that create kind of an artificial bubble?
It can.
Okay.
Buybacks can inflate a company's valuation, making them appear more profitable than they actually are.
Interesting.
And that can leave them vulnerable, in times of crisis.
Yeah.
A great example of this is Delta Airlines.
Okay.
They did this massive stock buyback in 2019.
And then just a year later, they needed this multi-billion-dollar bailout from taxpayers because they depleted their cash reserves.
Ouch. Yeah, that's a cautionary tale for sure.
Yeah.
So as an investor, what should I be thinking about with these buybacks?
Well, I think, the main question to ask yourself is, am I comfortable with the potential for short-term gains?
Right.
Knowing the long-term risks,
Mm-hmm.
buybacks can create, kind of this temporary boost.
Right.
But they don't always reflect the true health or, the sustainability of a company.
For sure.
So this is where, research and careful evaluation are really crucial.
Absolutely. All right, so we've covered a lot of ground already.
We have.
We've seen how, government spending, deregulation, tax cuts can create all these, opportunities and risks for investors.
Right.
Now let's shift gears a little bit and bring in our second YouTube source, Noelle Randall.
Okay.
Her video is really interesting. It takes a completely different approach.
Well,
Yeah. It's all about capitalizing on Trump's popularity through e-commerce.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So kind of like where those cultural trends meet business opportunities.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What I find really fascinating about it is that you don't even need to be a Trump supporter to potentially profit from this.
Right.
Her video lays out this whole blueprint for how to leverage a cultural phenomenon for financial gain.
Yeah, it's all about understanding, the dynamics of supply and demand.
Yeah.
Right. Noelle observed that there was this huge demand for pro-Trump merchandise.
Okay.
And she capitalized on that.
Yeah.
Right?
So what's her
Yeah.
what's her secret sauce? What's she doing?
Well, one of her key recommendations is to utilize these print-on-demand platforms like Amazon, Etsy, eBay.
Oh, those are great.
Right. And this allows you to, design and sell merchandise without having to deal with inventory or shipping logistics.
It's a huge advantage.
Right. Especially for someone who's just starting out. And she even provides a step-by-step guide.
Oh, wow. Does she really?
Yeah. She's using free tools like Canva for design.
Okay. Yeah.
And ChatGPT for generating catchy slogans.
Interesting.
Yeah. So she shows you exactly how to create, designs and marketing materials without needing any specialized software or design skills.
You don't even have to be, a professional to do this.
Yeah.
Wow. And she talks about being anonymous, right?
Oh, yeah.
Which is interesting if you're not comfortable with being publicly associated with the Trump brand.
Right, right. She suggests, setting up separate social media accounts and using a business name that doesn't directly tie back to your personal identity.
Okay, so you can kind of cash in on the trend without necessarily putting your name on it.
Exactly.
That's smart.
Yeah.
And she even takes it a step further, talking about formalizing the business.
Oh, wow.
Getting funding, expanding operations.
She really encourages viewers to think beyond just a side hustle and, consider building a sustainable business.
Right, a real business.
Yeah, and this involves, setting up an LLC.
Okay.
Getting a business checking account, building business credit.
Wow. So this is a whole...
It starts to sound like a real business plan.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
What if someone isn't interested in e-commerce or political trends? What are some broader takeaways from her approach?
Well, I think, one of the big things that she highlights is the importance of being adaptable.
Okay.
Right? And identifying opportunities in kind of these unexpected places. It's about recognizing trends, understanding what the market demands,
Right.
and finding creative ways to meet those needs.
Right.
It's also about being resourceful and utilizing, tools and platforms that are already out there to build a business with minimal investment.
So you don't need a ton of money or experience to get started.
Exactly.
It's more about the vision, the willingness to experiment, and then taking action.
Absolutely.
That's powerful.
And it also underscores the importance of continuous learning and adaptation.
Yeah.
Right? Because the market's constantly changing. Yeah. Always. So you always have to be learning and adapting.
Okay, so we've got these two very different approaches.
Yeah.
We've got minority mindset,
right,
focusing on these big picture economic trends, investment strategies. And then we have Noelle Randall providing this tactical guide to building a business around a specific cultural phenomenon.
Yeah, you're exploring both the macro and the micro.
Yeah.
Which is smart.
Right.
Yeah, it allows you to diversify your efforts and potentially, capitalize on a wider range of opportunities.
Exactly.
It's also a great way to learn about, different business models and approaches, which can help you refine your own strategy and make, more informed decisions.
Okay, so as we kind of start to wrap up this deep dive,
okay,
let's bring it back to you, the listener.
Yeah.
What's resonating with you the most?
Right. Are you leaning more towards, that big picture investing approach that minority mindset outlines, or are you more drawn to the hands-on entrepreneurial path that Noelle Randall presents, or maybe you're thinking about a hybrid approach, combining elements of both?
Totally. What stands out to you as the most compelling takeaway from these sources?
And how does that align with your own personal goals?
Right.
Your risk tolerance, your overall vision for the future?
That's a good question.
These are questions that only you can answer.
Yeah, we can't answer those for you.
We've presented, a lot of information,
right,
different perspectives.
Yeah.
Now it's up to you to take that information, process it, and determine, what's the best course of action for you.
Exactly. And we hope that this deep dive has given you a solid foundation of knowledge.
Right.
Some valuable insights.
Who help you make those decisions.
Yeah, for sure. And remember, the journey doesn't end here.
Oh, no.
There's always more to learn.
Always
more to explore, more opportunities to uncover. So keep asking questions.
Yeah.
Keep learning and keep pushing yourself to think outside the box.
Right. Because that economic landscape is always evolving.
Always changing.
And the people who are willing to adapt and innovate, those are the ones who are going to succeed. It really does all come back to that, knowledge is power.
Yeah.
The more you understand these trends, the better you'll be able to navigate them.
Exactly. It's not about, blindly following everyone else or chasing the latest hype.
Right.
It's about doing your research, evaluating the risks and the rewards.
For sure.
And making decisions that work for you.
Yeah. Minority mindset really emphasizes that.
Okay.
They talk about, the importance of having a solid investment strategy, whether you're actively picking stocks or, taking a more passive approach like with index funds.
They even bring up the ADB approach.
Oh, yeah.
Always be buying.
Always be buying. Right. Yeah. The idea is to consistently invest in a broad market index fund, no matter what the market's doing.
So it's like a long game.
It is a long game.
Yeah.
The market's going to go up, it's going to go down, but over time it tends to trend upwards.
Right.
So a passive investing strategy helps you kind of, ride those waves.
Yeah, and not freak out.
Right, and come out ahead in the long run.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think it can be really tempting to try to time the market.
Oh, yeah.
But it's so hard.
It is incredibly difficult.
To do that well.
And even if you've picked all the right sectors, minority mindset points out a recession could just come and wipe out all your gains.
Oof, yeah. That's scary.
Right.
So it really is all about managing risk and finding strategies that work for you.
Yeah. Noelle Randall's approach is a good example of that.
Okay.
She's identified this specific niche.
Yeah.
Capitalizing on that demand for Trump-themed merchandise.
Right.
And she's created this business model where she can operate leanly and adapt to changing trends.
And she encourages people to formalize their businesses.
She does.
Even if they start as side hustles.
Right. It's about building, a sustainable enterprise.
Yeah. Or real business.
Not just chasing a quick buck.
She talked a lot about structure and planning.
She does.
Like getting an LLC,
Yeah.
a business checking account.
Building business credit.
Yeah.
Those are all steps that can help you, really scale your business and create something lasting.
That's inspiring.
Yeah.
It really shows you don't need like a ton of money or connections to succeed.
Right.
It's more about the vision being resourceful and taking action.
Absolutely. And it all circles back to what we were talking about before. With continuous learning,
Right.
the market's always changing.
Yeah.
So the more you're willing to learn and adapt, the better you'll be.
Right.
To navigate those changes and come out on top.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Okay.
let's leave you with one final thought.
All right.
We've explored all these potential opportunities, but we haven't really talked about like the downsides.
That's true.
It's easy to get caught up, in the excitement of potential profits.
Oh, yeah.
But you have to think about the risks
You do?
involved in all of this.
Every investment, every business venture, there's always some risk.
Yeah, Minority Mindset talked about, the risk of a recession. And even Noel Randall's approach, as clever as it is,
Right.
it makes you wonder about the long-term, sustainability of building a business around a specific political figure or trend.
Right. What happens when the hype fades?
Yeah, exactly what happens then.
It's a good question.
Yeah.
These are important things to consider.
For sure.
As you move forward and, explore, these opportunities don't just focus on the upside.
Right.
Think about the potential downsides, too.
Yeah, do your due diligence.
Exactly.
And remember, there's no one-size-fits-all approach.
No.
What works for one person might not work for another.
Right.
It's all about finding what aligns with your goals, your risk tolerance, your overall, financial strategy.
Exactly.
We hope this deep dive has given you a good framework for thinking about these opportunities and figuring out how to navigate, this complex economic landscape.
Absolutely.
And most importantly, we hope it's inspired you to keep learning,
Yeah.
exploring,
Pushing yourself.
to think outside the box.
Yeah, because you never know. You might be the one to uncover the next big opportunity.
You might be.
So until next time,
Keep diving.
keep diving.